Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back, or welcome to another Bangs audio review. There she is. There's our girl. Wan'er, how you doing? Looking good. Looking good, for sure. But does she sound as good as she looks? Let's find out, shall we? So, I've spent a couple of days with her and mixing in the Meze 109s as I can. And, of course, wouldn't be a proper video without the SG, the OG SG. So there's the Wan'er SG for y'all. And her cloth. Let's do an unbox, shall we? It's a nice box for a $20 IM. Like, seriously. Ultra budget. You can get anything from a tiny little box with like one set of tips and a cable, and that's it, to something like this, which, look, I have a new cloth. Oh, I love it. It's great. So now you're going to see both of these just like every single video. Wan'er SG Studio Edition, right? So this is the new one. Nice spot there for the IMs to rest. And then, I have to shake. Accessories, which include ear tips and the cable. The cable is out, so here you go. Ear tips. Decent selection. Stock silicones right there. I did for some of the testing, but not for a lot of it, and I'll explain why. And then, here we go. So yeah, like a nice amount of ear tips, actually. So there's quite a number of them. I'll shake them all out. Normal bore, wide bore, silicone. I did not see, I don't think there's any foams. Nope, they're not hiding in there. Which is fine, because I don't use foams anyway, except for the measurement rig. So there you go. Nice little unbox. I'll put those away later. Should be alright. Or maybe not. Maybe I can't get the box top back on. Alright, there we go. On the back, we have the specs. We'll do a quick run through the specs, and then we'll get into the review. So it's a 10mm dynamic driver. I'm thinking it's probably LCP or LCPPU. It does seem to be an upgrade from the SG, though. We'll get into why, obviously, on that. 105 decibel sensitivity, 16 ohm resistance, and yeah, 2-pin. It is a QDC, so cable swapping is a little bit more difficult with that, but obviously not impossible. Very secure fit. Here's the cable. Interesting, okay, as we get into the accessories. And those are TRNT ear tips, by the way. That's what I used primarily for the testing, and both, so they were equal on the comps. Stock cable. I didn't want to use ear tips that were the same cost as the actual IEMs, meaning like Divinus Velvet or Osla or whatever, because that's kind of dumb, right? I mean, if you're in and I consider these ultra budget because they will be under $20 most times, right? Just wait for a coupon or sale or whatever. The TRNT ear tips are very comfortable. They're like a normal bore width, and they're like $3.50 for a set of 2. So, you know, divide that in half. They're under $2 a piece. I think that is appropriate. We'll just call it appropriate for IMs in this price range. Whereas the more expensive tips kind of not. Kind of cheating, right? Because most people aren't going to go too far outside the box when they are using these, because the whole point of ultra budget is to be freaking inexpensive. So the cable I found to be okay. Like, it's nice. It's a little tangly, but not too bad. It's very similar in quality, I think, to the original cable. Obviously different color, being that it's black. There's some aesthetic things happening here for the studio edition that makes sense. One thing that was kind of not my favorite, I almost thought about cutting it off at some point, but I didn't. Glad I didn't try to do that, because I probably would have just sliced through it. The ear hooks on this are stiff. Stiff. Very stiff. There's a good reason for that, though, because they're moldable, which took me a second or 10 or 20 or 200 to figure out. Okay? So, listen. Do I like it? Do I understand it? Yes. I understand it because if you want to get a secure fit on these and make sure that, like, if you're in the studio or recording or even like playing live, this allows you to basically get a fit that's not going to come out of your ears. Now, for my ears, I struggled to get the insertion depth that I wanted and needed to get the most out of them, but YMMV, my favorite new acronym. So, it may be easier for you than it was for me, but eventually I did manipulate this ear hook enough to get a very, very good insertion depth and a very, very good seal on them. And with this set, that makes all of the difference. All of it. Okay? So going back in time to the original, to the SG, when I first reviewed these over a year ago, calling them like AirPod killers, and I still hold to that, actually. Of course they're wired, not without wire, but I don't think that I managed to get a super good seal, because my impression of them was that they were kind of thin and kind of like not, super satisfying. Fast forward to a year, me doing the comps. I've been using these on and off with my Nintendo Switch as gaming ear tips, or gaming earbuds, gaming earphones, and they've served that purpose very well. So anyway, but I hadn't listened to music with them for quite a while, so it was really good to get them back in my ears to comp them with the SE, because I realized that I just probably didn't have a good seal on the SG back when I reviewed it first, and that's maybe excusable because it was pretty, I was pretty new to the whole thing. But anyway, so they sounded better than they have previously. But the question is here, of course, are they an upgrade? Or, is the SE the upgrade over the SG? And that is what we will get into now that we are entering the sonic impressions zone. Quick note on build quality. About the same as the SG. Very nicely designed, very classy looking, nice gold details, nice subtle sort of little bit like shell-like, oyster shell-like, dark oyster shell, obviously. And yeah, and they're good. I would say for the price range, I would say they're good build quality. They're not tremendous, they're shy of like the Chew 2 or the Wyvern Abyss, like insofar as build quality goes, but they're passable, and they look nice, and they're light, and they do, once you get them seated properly, gone, disappear, so you don't have any like physical ear fatigue from these at all. Alright, so there you go, build fit done. On the sonic impressions, I'm going to bring up the graph because I think the graph is very, very important in this case to take a look at. And there's a difference, obviously, between this and the OG SG, right? Let me take one of the ones out here. So, all right, you can see the elevated bass in the SG, right? But it doesn't quite have the treble up, upper mids to lower treble. But then they kind of are somewhat similar in the upper treble. So what you have there for both sets is a nice amount of treble extension and a nice amount of detail. A little bit of air, a little bit of sparkle. They both way overperform for their price point. Let's put it that way, right? How often do you get this much air and sparkle out of a sub $20 set? Not often. On the bass, though, because the bass is kind of a glaring difference. Like, it looks like 5 to 7 decibels more on the older model on the SG than on the SE. However, it doesn't act that way. So I would say that the bass on the SG is more prominent, but I don't think it's any better. I don't think that it necessarily has that much more presence or impact. It's just a little bit softer, right? I mean, if you go back to back like I did on a couple of hip hop tracks, when you get down into the sub bass rumble, then that's where the SG has the advantage. But as far as overall bass, especially mid bass goes, I don't get how they graph. They don't sound that far apart. In fact, I would say the quality of the bass on the SE is much better, or at least noticeably better than the SG. So the new bass is better than the old bass. It's faster. It has a lot of impact, and it just, I don't know. I think the graph belies actually what the bass on the SE really sounds like. Then, they have a similar track in the ear gain, and then up into the lower treble. The SE goes a little bit higher up here. Okay, that's enough for the graph. The graph tells part of the story, not the whole story. So let's take out the SG and just look at the SE for a minute. What happens in the treble on the SE is something special, and the difference and the main upgrade from the SG is in this ear gain, lower treble, mid treble, upper treble. It must be a driver upgrade. That's the only thing that I can think of. It's obviously a tuning shift, right? Reference is what they call it. I think it's very well balanced, despite the seemingly lack of bass on the graph. It's got more bass than that indicates. But the treble on this is just sweeter, smoother, clearer, and more spacious than on the original. The original gets a little bit hissy and splashy at times in the upper treble. The SE, the Studio Edition, does not. The Studio Edition is just clear as a bell, like all the way through the end. There is no fatigue. There's no, I wish that didn't kind of sound that unnatural. Is it a perfectly natural sounding treble? No, it's not. Okay, they sacrificed a little bit of the naturalness to get the extension. Being we're talking about a $20 set, okay, fine, but it's not annoying, it's not obnoxious, it's not fatiguing, it's just a little bit unnatural in the very, very top end. But as far as the rest of the treble goes, man, is it nice. Man, is it just smooth, and like I said, like, clear and very just... If I'm a singer, I'm grabbing this set. I was a singer. Well, I still sing in the house, but as a singer, I'm grabbing this set. If I want to hear myself in a recording session, if I want to hear myself in a live situation, I'm grabbing this set because the vocals are absolutely perfect. Just so clear, so nice, so smooth. Are they super, super prominent? Let's say they're prominent enough to be critical listening, okay? Female vocals were exceptional. Male vocals maybe lacked a little bit of weight, but nothing to be like upset about. Maynard sounded good. That's kind of my litmus test. If Maynard sounds good, then and of course, people like Drake and Future and the guys from Outkast, and just very clear, very nice vocals on this set. So Studio Edition makes sense. Okay, it's not a bass headset. The bass is definitely good, though, just not a ton of it. But more than, I keep going back to this, more than that might indicate. So I didn't feel like at any point in time that I was missing bass. And just for fun, like when I had it going in the Zendak, I did pop the bass boost on there, and it reacted just great to the bass boost. So you could EQ a bass shelf onto it if you really felt like you wanted more, and it handles it just fine. In my opinion, actually, as I turn things up and listen to them louder, the driver on this started to exhibit a little bit of just a shade, a little bit of distortion with the bass boost off, whereas with the bass boost on, and I'm turning the volume up on these, There was no such issue. They just took it. They were just like, okay, you want to feed me some bass? I'll take it. I'll give you as much as you want. Just, go for it. It's fine. So that's, in a sense, because I don't EQ much. I don't really EQ at all. I do throw that bass boost down there just to see how sets will react to it. And the Studio Edition Wan'er was awesome with the bass boost. So I feel like it's a really nice all-around set. I feel like if you are into vocals and you like pop and you like K-pop and you like R&B, things like that, then you're going to be very happy with these. They ran the gauntlet. I call it the gauntlet because it's like, 6 or 7 like metal songs in a row with just a couple of breaks. So like Demon King, Brand of Sacrifice, Descending Tool, then a couple of R&B and hip hop tracks, Desires and Diamonds, Elevators, and then where's the gauntlet? The gauntlet is it's back up in the B's, right? Yeah. So BBK, Korn, Bleed. It passed the Bleed test. That's huge. Most inexpensive sets cannot handle Bleed by Meshuggah. The Wan'er Studio Edition, not a problem. And that goes right into Blood of the Scribe, then Bokeh, then more Meshuggah, then Tool, then Spirit Box, and then we take a little break with Dex Dark from Radiohead, and then right into Demon King and Descending. So it's like, if a set can survive that kind of onslaught, like those, 10 or 12 songs in a row, which have some breaks and some different genres mixed in, but if they can handle it, they get my vote. And the SE freaking handled it like nobody's business. So, ultra budget set, gets a highly recommended from Bangs Audio Reviews. I really, really enjoyed them a lot. I wish that, for me, I don't like the moldable ear hooks. For you, again, it might be fine. For like sort of future use, I'll probably switch out a cable, pick up an inexpensive QDC without the stiff moldable ear hooks, because it just isn't super comfortable for me. That's really kind of the only complaint. Once you get good insertion depth and a good seal on these, they're on fire. I mean, they're just so good for the price. And I think they're so good in general, They would compete with sets up to $50 without a problem. They'll compete with like the Zero Reds or the Zero Blues. They'll compete with like the Shimin Lee Encounter or the 7 Hertz Zonus. I mean, they're a competitive set for an incredibly low price. And that's like kind of all we're looking for, right? So, yeah, I'm going to have to give them the thumbs up. I'm going to have to give them the highly recommended price, especially in consideration. I don't really have much else for you on these guys. I think that it is a full upgrade over the SG. It was nice to go back to the SG and actually listen to music on them and remember that they are really good, but they have been, and this is what we all hope for, right? When there's a new version that comes out of a set that's been really successful and is really well respected, that the new version actually improves upon the old version. The Studio Edition Wan'er improved upon the SG. That's about all we can ask for, right? Shit, they're $20. Go grab a set. Even if they're just like your beater pair, your grab and go pair, whatever. Oh yeah, speaking of that, they were fine on this. Okay, they scaled well. They did well with the more expensive ones. What used to drive me crazy, watching some other reviewers using like $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 like stacks or DAC amp combos or whatever to review like a $20 set. Like, nobody is going to do that. They might have something like this, like the EPZ TP30 or TP20 Pro or TP20, whatever your preference is. But a lot of people are just going to plug this into their iPhone, or if you've got an Android, you'll have that version and plug it into your Android at $20. This better work, and it better sound freaking good. And I am happy to say that it did. Okay? That was very cool. Use the Apple dongle. If you got nothing else, you're going to be fine. And one other thing, quick shout out to my buddy Sforzable. I was having trouble using any of these little DAC amps, little dongle DACs with my iPhone because my port is just kind of like getting bad over the past couple of years. It's just so this is the Shanling OTG USB-C to Lightning. If you're having those troubles with your connection in your Lightning ports, spend the $20 and get one of these on Amazon. Like, just I'll link it in the description. It's a lifesaver. I can use all this stuff now, which means that these guys are going to be getting probably one group review coming up very shortly, because now I can actually speak to a use case scenario instead of just imagining a use case scenario. So something to look forward to if you're interested in dongle DACs. We got 4 of them there to go over. That's going to wrap it up for today, guys. This ran a little bit long. I apologize for that. I was trying to keep it around 15 minutes, but had some other things to talk about too, so hope you don't mind. You're used to it by now. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers. I never ask for subs. You guys know that. So I think I'm at 966 right now, talking about 34 more people hitting the subscribe button. If you haven't yet and you enjoy the content, please do. I would love to reach that $1,000 subscriber mark before I hit surgery in September. Before that, if possible. So if you're feeling it, hit subscribe. I love you for it. And as always, be careful, be safe, be nice. I love y'all, and nothing but peace to you. We'll see ya.